Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's open house with Circuit Stream. Today, our focus is going to be on our Unity Development Bootcamp, and it's going to be a little bit of an info session with some of our guest speakers. Alumni from our courses, in fact, will be joining us to share their experiences. Before I jump into anything, I usually like to start by just doing a quick audio and visual check, make sure that everybody can see me okay, everybody can hear me okay. So feel free to use the chat log along the side there and just let me know if everybody can see me and hear me. I see lots of hellos. Hello. Audio and visual is good. We can hear you. Perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then, so now that everybody can hear me and interact, then the first question I usually like to start with is feel free to share where everybody is joining us from today. Personally, I am from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Vancouver, BC, London, UK, hello, more Vancouver, Toronto, Barrie, wow, so many Canadians this time, Minnesota, Markham, Ontario, Winnipeg, LA, I'm jealous of the warmth, Texas, also jealous of the warmth, beautiful, awesome, looks like we've got people from all over the place here, dual citizen, amazing. That's a great one, Vancouver and San Fran. I'd like to flip between those two. So what we'll do here today is I will jump in just a second. I'm going to share the slideshow presentation. I'm going to start by sharing just a little bit of brief information about Circuit Stream. Then we will bring the guest speakers up. We'll do a little bit of questions and answers with them. And then I will share a little bit of the information once that session is finished, in terms of our dates and our pricing. And then at the very end, we're going to invite the speakers back up and we'll have a little bit of open-ended question, Q&A, I should say, with the chat. So there is also a question tab and a polls tab. I will be publishing some polls a little bit later on during the presentation, but you're welcome to use the chat tab or the questions tab if you have any questions there. If there are some really good questions that come in, if we don't answer it right away, I promise you we're not ignoring. We're probably just flagging it so that we can answer it as a group together and make sure that everybody kind of sees the response to it. So feel free to post those throughout, and I promise you we'll get to them at the end. If for any reason we ran out of time, we're always available after the presentation as well to communicate and go over any information with everybody here. So without further ado, let me try and share this presentation with everybody. There we go. Perfect. So today, like I said, we're going to be focusing a little bit on the development bootcamp. What I'll start with here is just giving you a little bit of the agenda in a moment. I guess I can start by introducing myself. So my name is Tyler Trapp. I'm the Education's Partnership Manager at Circuit Stream, or one of them, I should say. I come from hospitality and tourism. I worked in that industry for over 10 years. And then obviously with a lot of people, COVID happened and kind of shifted my direction, but I've moved into technology and education, and I haven't looked back. I love this industry. I also didn't write this slide. I don't know how much of a passionate gamer I would consider myself. I'm probably one of the senior Fortnite players out there in my mid 30s, but I also like, anything that's Mario related, Mario Golf, Mario Kart, anything like that. So that's a little bit on me. Nothing too exciting there. And then for the agenda here today, so like I said before, I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit about Circuit Stream and Unity and our course, and then we'll invite Monday, Diana, and Emiliano up on stage. The way that this agenda is written is they're kind of separated. We've got Monday and Diana in a 20-minute segment and Emiliano in a 10. But I think what we're actually going to do is invite all three up and then just kind of look at different questions and answers and get some experience from all three of them at the same time. And then, like I said, I'll pop back in. I'll do a little bit on the pricing, the upcoming start dates, and then we can do the open-ended Q&A with the speakers here. So to start, who is Circuit Stream? Circuit Stream was founded in 2015. Our founders just identified a huge gap in demand for education relating augmented and virtual reality. Our goal has always been to share a foundation of knowledge on the best tools, processes, and workflows for Unity, as well as for XR design and development. And to date, we've helped over 50,000 learners develop these highly sought after technical skills through our boot camps, through our courses, through our workshops. Students are coming to us from different forums there. So that's a little bit on who we are. Our team, I mentioned before, we are kind of located all over the place. This gives you a little bit of a map view. You can see where some of us are here, but we are located basically in different geographical time zones to be able to accommodate the students who are joining us from all over the world. And we are also a certified training partner with Unity. So I'm going to jump into Unity in just a moment and share a little bit more about that. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Unity and some of you may not be. But the partners with Unity are approved based on their expertise, their focus on quality education, and their demonstrated success for the students. So that would be all of the levels that we would need to achieve to be a Unity partner. So I'm happy to say that we do. I can share a little bit more of Unity in just a moment. I'll start with our academic offerings. So I know I've mentioned a couple times the focus today is our 30-week bootcamp, but we do have several courses here. So you can see on the screen right now, these are 3 main courses. The course on the left would be our 10-week beginner XR development with Unity course. In the middle, we have our 10-week interaction design and prototyping course, also beginner friendly. And then on the far right, we have our live online 30-week career track course. It does say beginner, although we do, we would need a little bit of experience in C# coding, and we have some different ways to get students prepared if they weren't ready to take the course. But this is the career track course and the one we're going to be chatting about mostly today. And then, so you can see some logos here on the screen. I mean, we've had the privilege of working with some of the most well-known companies in the world. We could likely fill several pages with logos, but the point here was just to provide some examples within this presentation to give our new students an idea as to who is currently using and expanding with XR technology in their work. So one that's not on this page right now that always stands out to me that's quite interesting is we recently worked with Hershey, which is an interesting company to be expanding into XR technology. So that's just some logos. We've also moved into university spaces with our courses now being offered at all of the institutions that you can see on the page here. This list is also set to grow quite a bit in 2023. We have many more universities currently in the process of onboarding our courses right now. So this just means students can come to CircuitStream directly to take our courses, but they're also able to go through these university partners to get the courses as well. And then I mentioned before, what is Unity? If you've seen this specific interface before, you've probably taken our C# course. This is one of the games that we do within the course itself. But overall, Unity is a 3D development engine used for building games, simulations, and experiences. It is the easiest way to begin making apps, games, and experiences. And that's why we mainly focus on using Unity, and we are direct partners with them. And then why learn Unity game development? So I'll just kind of share this, read this through here with you guys. So market share, Unity is the most popular game engine among indie game developers with over 60% of the market share in the industry, which is huge. They're flexible. Unity is used to develop games for a wide range of platforms, including PC, console, mobile, and VR and AR. The job demand, there is forecasted over 70% in the next 10 years for job demand within Unity. And of course, the salary. Now, these stats here are based on US numbers. We can absolutely find information for any other country, Canada. There seems to be a lot of people from Canada here today in this presentation. But just, for the presentation purposes, the salary expectations in the US are starting between about $65,000 and $75,000 per year. And then, of course, the experienced Unity developers are often making over 6 figures. So just to share a little bit on that. And then in terms of the careers, you can see there's a number of roles and titles that require XR experience, from developers and artists to project managers and quality assurance. This list is constantly growing as XR is constantly expanding into all new industries all the time. So just to give you some ideas, and I should mention this too, I meant to say this at the beginning, this presentation will be recorded. So if you want any of the information here, or if you're looking to kind of go back and review it afterwards, we will email it out to you so you'll have access to all of this information once the presentation is complete. And then this is the star of today's presentation. So the Unity Game Development Bootcamp. I mentioned before that it is 30 weeks. You're looking at about 16 plus hours per week. I'll just quickly kind of run through this information with you. So we have live online sessions, 2.5-hour sessions per week. We have dedicated career services. So you're going to get ongoing career support. We have one-on-one sessions, workshops. We also have a very large private community within Discord. This would be for our current students, our past students. Some people we bring in, industry professionals that we work with, speakers, and then of course the staff at CircuitStream as well. You get 12 private one-on-one sessions that you get to schedule throughout the course itself. Allows you to kind of dive a little bit more into certain areas that you might need more clarification on. We do have daily open office hours. These are hour-long. They are outside of the regular scheduled class times, and they're meant to be there for additional support. And then, of course, we have weekly labs from industry experts, game jams, etc. So lots of engagement there in the weekly labs. And what I will do here is I'm going to introduce the speakers. I'm not saying jump on stage quite yet Monday. I'm just going to go through all three, and then I'll invite all of you up on the stage at the same time here. So first speaker here is Monday. He is one of our student ambassadors here on the academic side at Circuit Stream. He is alumnus. He's taken our Bootcamp, our XR development course, and our C# course. 5+ years in strategy and process improvement, and he's currently a senior production engineering manager at Bungie. So we will say hi to Monday in just a moment. We also have Diana joining us here today. She's another one of our student ambassadors on the career side. She was a Circuit Stream student. She took our XR development course, our XR design course, and our C# course. She is an engineer and an XR designer and business and career mentor for North Forge and on Futurepreneur. I always try to say entrepreneur there, Futurepreneur Canada. So that's Diana. She'll be joining us in just a moment. And last but certainly not least, we have Emilio, Unity Development Bootcamp alumni. He also took our XR development course. He's 10+ years experience in education and training, IT and web training, and he is a martial arts teacher, which I believe he's actually used that and factored it into some of the projects he's done with us here at Circuit Stream, which is very fun. So without further ado, I'm going to flip back over here, and I am going to invite the three speakers to join us up on stage here.
Hello.
Hello, Monday. Hello.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Emiliano, perfect. And then Diana. There we go. Perfect. Well, welcome. Thank you all for joining us here today. So what we can do is, I mentioned as well, I do have some questions that's a little bit more organized that I'll kind of pose to all of you in just a moment. But maybe to start with, we can just go over the outcomes page here and a little bit what students could expect as they're taking the boot camp. So maybe Monday, if you're comfortable, would you be okay with speaking to this page a little bit here?
Yeah, absolutely. No pressure at all, right?
Yeah.
So hi everyone. I know some of you all from the chat, so good to see you all. If I haven't seen you face to face, I'm going to assume that this is face to face. And for everybody that's new, great to see you out there. Um, so yeah, the Unity Game Development Bootcamp. So the biggest thing about this is you're going to gain a ton of Unity development skills, and especially in like that C# coding for gaming. So the boot camp kind of starts you off right off the jump. We do a really good job of like a 6 weeks introduction to C# where we take you through the basics. So really like emphasizing that it is beginner friendly. You know, if you're coming up with a little bit of knowledge or more experience, you're still going to gain something from it, but you're not going to be at a handicap right off the back. Um, so throughout that introduction to C#, you learn how to build like simple projects. So the fun one that we always do is like build a robot, which is your first experience using 3D objects in that 3D space of the Unity engine. And then from there, you start working into like animations and creating prefabs, creating scriptable objects. So really going through those skills. And the one thing about the bootcamp that I really enjoyed is it takes you kind of from beginning all the way to advanced. So you start off with like the very entry level concepts of C# and the Unity engine, all the way into like creating databases and doing networking and creating stable network connections and debugging and optimization. So all of those very advanced techniques that a lot of companies look for. Subtle plug, you know, debugging and optimization is not like the it's not the sought after role in a lot of industries. So if you go through this boot camp and you build those skills and you're like, hey, debugging and optimization is my cup of tea, like you're just building your resume there. Um, the other thing we do is we do focus on the game development process. So, and you know, Emiliano could speak to this as well. You kind of start off with just like how to build a project, and then the midterm project that you go through is really like essentially they give you a brief that you have to meet. So it's like you're working on in a gaming studio, let's say, and you have a Q3 goal. So it takes you through project planning, through agile and sprint methodologies. You have to do Scrum methodologies as well. You develop a project team, develop goals, have deadlines, have timelines. So it really gives you the sense of like, this is what it's like to do this in the real world outside of just like building something cool on the weekend. Like if this was your job, you would have those deadlines, you would have those timelines, you would have to work with the team. And then, like I was saying, those last 2 points, like API integration and optimization, aren't easy concepts to understand, but the bootcamp does go into those and like takes you through the foundation of the thought process of what is API integration, what is optimization, all the way up to like integrating it into your project. And we really try to challenge the learners of this bootcamp to integrate that. Like you have a great project that's a cooking simulation as your VR as your project, but how can you make it so now it's multiplayer, or how can you add additional kitchens without overloading the CPU or GPU of the system that you're using? um, so yeah, I mean, so outcome wise, I mean, you walk out truly as a developer, whether you can build upon other skills that you have, so now you're like maybe like a higher level developer, or if you walked in with no skills, like you walk out as a developer, you're able to take your ideas and bring them into creation. And everything that Tyler said, I mean, it is a time commitment, but the time that you put in is just like it's easily seen with what you're able to do on the back end.
Awesome, awesome. And Emiliano, I want to start really quickly by apologizing. I noticed the slide, your name was spelt incorrectly. I'm going to correct that right away, but
No
it's not
worries.
Emilio, it's Emiliano.
No worries.
And maybe you could speak to this as well, if that's okay.
Sure. So yeah, totally agree with what Monday just said. The the big difference is to prepare students to work professionally, not just putting things together, not just doing a weekend project, but through pair programming, through tight deadlines, lots of pressure. There's a simulation of a real time environment. You really feel what you are going to feel in the industry. It's not, pardon the joke, it's not a game. It's something serious.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just going to put this outcomes page back up on the main screen here as well. And I think we kind of covered all of these points that you hit most of them there Monday as you were going through. So maybe what we can do before we jump into the questions is I'll hop to the next one and I'll invite Diana to speak a little bit on the career side. So I'm just going to shift the page here. And then, yeah, maybe if you're okay, Diana, just say hello to everyone and tell us a little bit about the career program.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me well?
We can, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm very excited to be here today. This is where also kind of like the balance comes into place, because one is the technical, and as Emiliano was explaining, there is a little bit of pressure. There is, of course, this all of these technical components, but career is something that helps you to actually find in yourself what are those important skills that you have right now in any job or any background that you have, and how to transfer them to this new industry. So this is basically what is going to be discussed in the first section, which is called Discovery and Foundations. Also there we're going to be speaking about market research, because the industry is evolving all the time, and we need to understand the ecosystem and how we can fit in that ecosystem and evolve with it. And also we are going to discuss about this is one of my favorite topics, which is about self exploration, which means we come from different backgrounds, from different industries, and how we can find this intersection to propel ourselves to be successful where we are going. So pretty much a discovery and having a good understanding of where we are coming from and where we are heading. This is super important for any foundations in career. We're going to discuss about personal branding. This is also one of my favorite ones, because if in today's world that is digital, pretty much, if we don't have certain presence or certain ways for recruiters to find us easier, or for companies to connect with easier, then pretty much we are at the mercy of just our own efforts trying to look for resources, and sometimes this is not as effective. So the purpose of the career program is to give you all the latest tools to leverage them and to build a message that is compelling, so people can actually find easier and understand easier what type of gifts and technical skills you have that can offer them in their companies or for connection with other businesses. And also we're going to move into digital presence. And here, like pretty much the concerns always in these type of fields are, okay, how can I build a good portfolio? How can I leverage tools like LinkedIn, or how can I showcase myself in a way that is going to be professional at the standard level that the industry is expecting at the moment? So this is exactly what we're going to be learning, how to create that portfolio. And it's not just the how, which is one of the most exciting things about this program, is that we're gonna do it. And so during the labs, we're gonna have the time to actually craft it. So hopefully at the end, you will have all of these materials absolutely ready to present to hiring partners or to maybe investors, if this is your case about creating a business out of this. Which takes me to the next section, because I am already a mentor in this ecosystem of entrepreneurship. We're going to be having fun at discussing all of this cycle of how an ideation, a proper ideation, is actually created for this purpose. How do we manage a complete project from beginning to end, and how we can present a compelling case for funding purposes, if this is your case. Even if you are trying to look for a job, this is going to be super fundamental, because who knows, maybe down the road in a couple of years, you decide that you want to create your own app. And for that, you're going to need these skills. Then we also, of course, will be discussing about job applications, which is related with how we can create a resume and also a compelling cover letter. All the techniques, because this is weird, but sometimes when we are in a regular job and then we do a transition, we really don't realize that career is actually another technical in itself. So this is the opportunity where we're going to be preparing ourselves to deliver a very professional and a very competing case to hiring partners or to other companies, as I mentioned. We're going to do mock-up interviews, which are pretty hard to pass, but it's just a play role. So it's going to be so fun to be sharing these experiences together and bonding together through these opportunities. And finally, we're going to be prepared for pitch day, which is like a simulated space where we can do things like, for example, creating a case where we're going to request funding for our project, for example. And also the opportunity to seriously present your project to hiring partners and to get this opportunity for hiring. Along with this, of course, if what you are looking for is potentially find investors, this is also a good tool that is you're going to have under your belt to present a professional case whenever you want to get to the next stage of maybe creating a company. So as you can see, this program is actually very, very structured. Is very we actually work a lot in order to bring a program that actually set the standard of the industry. And we work with hiring partners for this purpose as well. So very, very excited. As if you have before by chance taking courses, I actually believe that this is the new evolution of education, because in our current systems, for example, when we're in high school or even in university, we don't get to have all of this knowledge that we should have, because this is part of how we're going to evolve in our careers, and career is an important part of our lives. So that's why I say this is a very unique and very transformative space for you. And of course, I'm inviting you to join and to get to know each other more. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, you're on mute, Tyler. Sorry about that.
I can keep talking. It's a joke. No, but yeah, seriously, this has been a very transformative opportunity even for me. So really, I'm inviting everybody to, even if you don't join, hey, look, we have many resources and many connections. You can connect later on with Monday, Emiliano, with myself. If you have more questions, we're all open to talk always with you.
Perfect, and thank you, Diana. Sorry, my screen interface was acting up there. I couldn't unmute myself. So, but this is perfect. And then, so while we have all three of you up on stage, what I'm going to do is just kind of shift now and ask some questions, and maybe get one or two of you to kind of provide some insight on each of those, if that's okay. So where we can start with, maybe just tell us a little bit about the interest in XR and gaming and where it kind of stemmed from. We just heard from Diana, so I'll pick on Monday just because he's next in line here.
Yeah, so you want me to just go down the list of all four of these?
No, so sorry. The question itself, this is just kind of a guideline. The actual question would be, where does your interest in XR and gaming stem from?
Oh, so yeah, I'm a big nerd. For those of you that know me, incredible nerd. So my interest in XR really came from like Star Trek and Star Wars. I was always the one who was like looking in the background at like, hey, it's cool that like, oh my gosh, they got a message from Ben Kenobi, but like it's a hologram that you can see without any type of like interface. So like, how can we get to that part? Or like the OG Star Trek with like the communicators and like their fabricators and everything like that. And so I think my interest in that and how do we bring it to reality really got piqued with XR, specifically VR. So I am very heavy on the VR side because what we can do in the physical world is limited by like physics and reality and all these different things, but like you can build whatever you want in VR. And once that kind of clicked in my head, I was just like, oh, like instead of waiting for us to catch up to Star Wars or Star Trek, like you just build that experience. And then once I started like getting into those and like building the experiences that I wanted to recreate for myself, I really started seeing like the business value in it. So at the time, I was a process manager for a pharmaceutical lab. And so I was just like, one of the issues that we were struggling with was training and onboarding because of cost, capital, and people's time and resources. And it's essentially training is like a waste of resources because you can't use it until people are signed off. And so I pitched it to them like, what if we created this VR training space? And they gave me the backing to roll with it. I created the space for them, and they still use it even though I'm no longer with that company. And I think that's what clicked in my brain that like this is something that like right now I think a lot of people look at as like gamification or entertainment. And well, not right now because now it's like more present in like the hospital field and like training, and it's becoming more of like a normal everyday like business application as well as like a home application. But it's just something that's just going to grow, and like AR is going to become like everyday reality as soon as they get like AR glasses and AR contact lenses and everything like that. And even with VR, like as VR gets more and more immersive, we're going to start seeing more mixed reality and pass through applications. And so it just seems limitless. But my passion for it stemmed from like me being a nerd. I mean, I have Power Ranger helmets in the background, so like I'm an extreme nerd, and I just wanted to like live those experiences that I had seen on TV.
Awesome. That's great. Perfect answer. And maybe I'll pick on another one here before we shift to the next one. Emiliano, do you want to maybe speak to where your interest came from for XR?
I have a background in web, and the first time I hadn't see anything in AR was really primitive. This was, we're talking about at least 5, 6, 7 years ago. Really primitive application, recognizing images and building something in real time. And I remember having my brain exploding, seeing something seamlessly acting in reality and being able to interact it on the web. This has so much possibilities. But of course, it was so young at the time. Sorry, so young and primitive, and uh, possibilities were still in the future. There was not much to be done. Tools were still really primitive, and I just put the idea aside. Kept working with web. Always been a little geek myself, and big fan of building games with JavaScript. Again, very primitive stuff at that time, nowhere compared to what you can do with Unity. But I had my fun, and then when I first heard of Unity, when I started seeing the possibilities, it was like, bah, again, I'm gonna jump on it immediately. And I started with the short course at Circus Stream, the XR course, and I realized that I wanted more and more and more, and I jumped immediately without thinking into the bootcamp, and now here I am, and I'm, I'm never gonna stop. I'm just going to go forwards and forwards and learn as much as I can.
Awesome. So yeah, so you had initial interest in it, and then you kind of just had to wait for the technology to catch up to your interest level a little bit. And
Yeah. Now it's like if someone has been in the Unity environment for a while, it's like seeing the shift in between the pass through of the Quest 2 and the Quest Pro. It's just like, oh, this is a whole new planet. It's a new it's a new atmosphere, and it gets only more and more exciting. There's so many possibilities. There's so many open doors. It's just the imagination is the limit.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you both for sharing kind of how you started in the industry. I'm going to jump into the next question, but something I meant to do before we do this as well. I did publish a poll off to the side there, and it's just asking, I believe, if you've seen our syllabi or our course syllabus before coming into the workshop here today. I believe that's what it is. I will have another poll that I'm going to publish near the end of the presentation when we jump into the Q&A, just kind of asking about your understanding of the course based on the presentation that we offered here for you today. So feel free to check out the poll there. And the next question that I'm going to ask here to the group is, how did you transition into this education and industry? And maybe we'll start with Diana, just kind of going in order here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that for me, I had been, working in a little bit of similar fields, the fields that are a little bit aligned with the aspect of entrepreneurship, etc. And for me, it has been always a matter of curiosity how this intersection of technologies happen with maybe the skills that we have. So for me, the intersection happened. I'm an engineer by profession, and I worked for many years with the government here locally where I am as a design and project engineer. And for me, the technology for engineers, technology is a little bit part of their day to day in some ways, and design as well. So for me, the transition was a little bit in the sense of being curious, like the curiosity that first happens, and then starting to create things myself and a plan as a project manager, creating a plan or a case where I could successfully, like come more closer to the technology. It happened to me as a shock the first time that I tried the headset, that I saw these beautiful bubbles and these beautiful, like, transporting myself into another space. That for me it was so fascinating. And as an engineer, if you're an engineer, you can relate. We create ourselves as fixed identity of being rational, like very, cold, or like the part of the logic, let's say, that coding has. But it happens to me that I also have always desired to explore the other side, which is creativity, which is more like how can we come up with innovative things, different things. And so that's how the transition happened, like trying to look for something that could give me that outlet to be able to create things. And yeah, so then that's how I ended up getting myself more educated, and ended up taking the programs at Circuit Stream that successfully helped me to hone on those skills.
Awesome. I feel like I knew your story too, because you and I have chatted, but I always love hearing it and hearing how you guys got involved here. So, and then, the first question, where the experience kind of stems from, and then how you moved into the industry, kind of overlap a little bit there. So maybe what I'll do here is shift onto the third one. and just ask how experience was within the course. And what I'll do is I'll pick on someone specific who took the boot camp here for this one. So maybe we'll do Emiliano. I'm going to switch up the order this time. Emiliano, how was your experience within the boot camp?
The experience was great. I'm not gonna lie, it's a challenge. As any boot camps, is an intensive course. There's so many information to learn. There's so much technologies to learn, and personally, I had the extra challenge of living in UK. So I was, which was still even good for me because I was working at full time. In UK and studying at night and finishing the course at 3 a.m. in here. So it was a little bit of a challenge. It was not easy, but it was great. Especially the group and the community behind it, all the help that we had was fantastic. Working with in a team makes a massive difference. Being on your own, studying remotely can be daunting, can be terrifying, and it's really easy to get discouraged. On the other hand, working on a team and both the main projects that we did during the bootcamp were team projects really did make a difference because we could learn how to work in teams first, and especially for people who didn't have any experience in programming or in IT beforehand. Um, it was great to help each other, to support each other, and learn from one another. My team, for example, was really diverse, and we were sharing our skills, our background. So that was absolutely paramount for the success of the bootcamp. Also, the structure and having everything nicely organized instead of having to. Everything can be found on YouTube. Everything can be found online nowadays. But having a good structure, having a good path predefined for students is a massive help. And yeah, so again, really challenging, but accelerating, great, and a huge satisfaction to actually build something, seeing coming alive. Uh, there's a lot of frustration, as always in IT. Programming is about problem solving, so problems pop one after another, and we just go with the flow, and it was great. It was great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And now, Monday, I'm going to ask you a question here in just a minute, but there's one in between. I'm going to ask you something about your workday in a moment here. So maybe, Diana, I know that your course experience would be a little bit different in terms of the one that you took with us here, or the ones, I should say, that you took with us here. But maybe if you're comfortable, just speak a little bit to how you were able to kind of manage your time and your scheduling and your workday in addition to the courses that you took with us.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that we typically don't, as I mentioned, these are the type of things that should be taught in a school. But it's very awesome that we're having these opportunities here because we're gonna also dive a little bit on that. But in my personal way to manage these type of things, as a project manager, I like to use tools, for example, that can help us to organize our day. Depends on your particular situation, but my day to day, for example, is most of my day in the mornings have to be dedicated to things that I really want to concentrate in, which is I have a particular desire or like practice that I like to do related with mindfulness. So I like to start the day a little bit more quiet, which is not the same case for everybody. And that's why this type of system is kind of like interesting to see how somebody cannot necessarily have to be doing all the time, these type of activities, but still be productive. This is how it is. um, I like to create blocks of time where I can know that I can be productive. I actually was having a conversation recently with another one beautiful person from the team. Her name is Lucy. And I was saying how in our regular jobs, we work 8 hours. And for companies, this is the standard. But the reality is that even research have back up how if we were to work 4 hours, we would be able to do the same activities that we're doing in 8 hours. So if this is the case, that means that for the purposes of studying, we can apply absolutely the same and still be successful, still be able to take the best advantage of the time that we have limited and work efficiently in that time. Another problem that we have, to be honest, is that we have so many distractions around us. We can be in the phone and then we have notifications popping all the time, like in the computer, people asking us things. So that's another thing that we can manage a little bit by the means of using platforms, for example, that help us with that, or for us eh, committing ourselves, having very clear our goals and really a lot of passion. I said in another event that we had that having like a lot of drive for something that you want to build. So if you come to a boot camp and you say, I really want to build this, like I know the world needs this, that is a lot of passion that is going to push you in the first place to commit with the blocks of time that you said that you're going to respect. So creating blocks of time where you say, for example, I dedicate these 2 hours and I'm not going to move from here, or 1 hour and then a break of 10 minutes or so, and I'm not going to move from here until I complete this unit. That's one of the ways that can help you in the practical side. And of course, just making these daily reflections of how is that, what do I want to achieve today, but in part in a specific tasks, not like just in general. In a specific task, it can be one, but really like taking attending the class is one important because it's live and you can ask all the questions that when it's gone maybe it's a little bit more difficult. But attending the class is important, and then trying yourself the challenges and working on your passion project. It's actually a little bit simple, but the reason why it becomes complicated is because of our habits. So working in our habits, blocking times specific for a study, and committing yourself to do it. So that's my point.
Awesome, awesome. No, that's great. That's perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for there. So, and then Monday, this is where I said I was going to come back around and pick on you now, and maybe ask you to explain a little bit about what a daily life in your work would look like. That's not the way I worded the question. What does your typical work day look like? Is the way that should have been worded.
Yeah, for sure. So before I answer, I did want to call out. So there's a few questions in the chat between like the boot camp and like XR development. I did want to say, so we have like 3 different courses. So this boot camp specifically is geared around 3D game development. So there's not going to be an emphasis on XR development or XR design specifically. And really the questions that we're answering are because really both me and Emiliano built VR projects as a result of going through this boot camp. So the skills are transferable, but the boot camp itself is going to teach you like game development within the Unity engine using like the 3D tool set. Um, and then also the difference between like this boot camp and then XR design and XR development is going to be like that focus on like the XR component. So if you are interested in XR, XR development will teach you how to do like VR and AR integration and development. XR design will teach you how to use tools like Figma and Shapes XR to design for VR. Whereas this bootcamp is going to spend 30 weeks teaching you how to become like a Unity game developer. So this bootcamp is a lot more in depth. You're going to go through a lot more of the advanced concepts of like game development overall. Versus with the XR design or XR development, it's 10 weeks and you're going to touch on a lot of things and really kind of like get to the point where you're comfortable in your understanding, but there's not going to be that level of like, okay, now let's go like super advanced with it and let's really dive in. And the boot camp is going to offer that opportunity to dive in just because it is longer. And of course, the boot camp has the career sessions with Diana as well. And the design and dev course don't have the career focus as much. Um, but yeah, just wanted to like answer that because I know I've been
Perfect.
like answering questions in the chat as well. And I didn't want anybody to be confused with that. Um,
Thank you.
but
No,
yeah,
that's perfect.
okay. But my day to day, so yeah, I working in the industry and coming out of this boot camp and working in the industry, I actually started working when I was in the boot camp and it was like almost a one-to-one. So my day working in the industry is, we do sprint planning. So I have my goals, I connect with my teams. I know what like milestones I need to hit, what objectives I have. I personally don't do a lot of content creation. The team that I manage does the content creation, and I kind of oversee that. But my knowledge that I have from Unity game development and the knowledge that I was able to really like gain from this has helped me to understand that tool set even more. So the biggest thing that's like transferable to me is that those two things, debugging and optimization, that's like what I do all the time. And my team is focused on optimization. So the biggest part of my day to day is like we come in, I get a run report saying that like, hey, we had a build failure because of this new piece of content or whatever it might be. And then we might investigate that. So we're looking at the same kind of like console logs that will teach you how to dive into in the boot camp, figuring out what might be going wrong or what scripts or component or prefab might be broken because somebody pushed to change the fork and then you pulled it without, checking on it. And then from there, troubleshooting that. So understanding the code, the program, and the overall objective to the point where you could say, like, this code was supposed to generate 3 prefabs, but it's actually stuck in a while loop because we didn't activate this spool. How do we go in there? How could we read the logs? Because if anybody has seen console logs, they're pretty intimidating, especially when they just spit out everything that could be a problem. So understanding how to like understand and read those was like my biggest takeaway. And then of course being able to like really engage and like build in the console and feel confident in building what I'm doing. So even, I like to consider myself like I'm always continuously learning. I feel like when you decide to stop learning, you're almost like putting yourself at a disadvantage. Like, why would you ever do that? So as I learn more, of my day-to-day job, I go back and I reference things about like, okay, how do you do this and how do you learn this? And then there's this new concept. And, I saw somebody throw in the chat about like, now we have like GPT that can like generate code for you. And even with things like that, you still need to know how to understand. So it'll give you the code, but if you don't know where to plug it in or how to plug it in or how to integrate it, or they might give you a code, but that code could be optimized and you could refactor it and do other things. Um, it's almost putting yourself at a disservice. So yeah, my day to day, I mean, it's very similar to a lot of like what we do, especially when you get to like the midterm and the capstone within the boot camp. Like my day to day is that, we get a request to do some new feature. We meet with our team, develop a sprint plan around it. We assign objectives. We use the RICE method all the time to figure out what's going to be the biggest impact point, the biggest bang for our buck. And then from there, we get to work. We collaborate openly. We use similar tools like Git and Fork, which we'll learn how to use. And then once we have that deliverable in a final state, we start thinking about how can we optimize it? How can we make sure that next time if we want a gun, instead of just getting one gun, we can get 10 by a click of a button, or instead of generating one enemy, we want one enemy split into different classes, so you have like your beginner and all the way up to a boss. Like how can we generate code that will do that for us inside of the game? And when you get to that point, like even as a game developer, when you get to the point where you're playing a game that surprises you, I feel like that's when you have magic, because you've programmed so much that like your world is creating itself. So like, yes, you might know that the enemies are supposed to spawn here or that this thing is supposed to happen, but you've thought about it and you've allowed the game so much of its own freedom to like be a game. And so that's what my team focuses on.
That's really neat. So you can surprise yourself with the thing that you created yourself, which is really interesting.
Oh yeah, it's always fun when you're like playing and then like a boss enemy spawns and you're just like, yep, I should have known that was coming, but I didn't know that was coming, and this is great.
And on that note, for anybody who's watching the workshop here today, if anybody wants to see some of the projects that these guys did during the boot camps as well, really exciting projects, really interesting. So what I'll do here, we've got a couple more questions. So maybe I'll jump into how does the bootcamp help with networking and employment opportunities, and just networking overall, and that can be open-ended. Is there anybody who wants to jump on that one right away?
So I say that is 200% Diana's wheelhouse if she wants to jump in.
Okay,
Perfect.
I'll do it. So, how the bootcamp helps with networking opportunities, right?
Yes.
Okay.
How the courses and specifically, I guess, for the purpose of this workshop, how the bootcamp would help with
Yeah.
networking.
Yes. Yeah, I think that during the bootcamp, there is an opportunity to dive deeper into, now that we build a compelling brand message and that we have created the basis for like a case to show our skills that is more professional, how we can take that now into events, for example, networking events, or how we can bring that message to other people, because that's what we're looking for. So we dive into topics like using platforms that are available out there, like LinkedIn, which is a tool that definitely is there, but not many of us have optimized to the maximum because we just don't know all of the stuff that is available there. But the truth is that there are opportunities to network even if they are not in person, because many people think that, oh, it has to be only in person or it has to be only online. So we really discuss how we can leverage different techniques, strategies, and platforms in order to do that. But the reality is that through the bootcamp, when we are doing all of these sort of assignments, but at the same time we're working on our own accounts and optimizing them, we start to get to hopefully meet more people in the way. So start to get more connections. Part of the assignments is to submit messages, for example, to start getting the confidence on how to deliver that message, not only through the simulations that we do, but also through their own network, how they can start, leveraging the closest connections that they have for that case. But I think that at the end of the day, the most important skill that maybe might be developed is developing a little bit more of confidence that even though you might not have all the 20 years of experience or 10 years of experience in this field, there are ways that psychologically, and this also comes from marketing strategies, you can use to express the abilities that you have in a way that are strategic for what the company is looking for. And so then when I say this, look, the company is looking for is not only hiring partners, but maybe if you are trying to get some funding, to also present the case and using these psychological strategies, so your case is interesting, like it's really, like, it has contemplated what they are looking for. So it's learning pretty much on how to create a professional message, and as well how to bring it in networking. And so that's the idea of all of this, is that once we have crafted a more professional image of ourselves and we can showcase these skills and projects through a portfolio, then we are more prepared to get more connections, because the idea of all of this is that hiring partners are going to be attracted to candidates that have taken the time to actually build a more successful case for hiring or for companies to maybe participate in your project. So that's how you can leverage the skills in the bootcamp in order to successfully build more connections or widen your network.
Awesome. Awesome. No, that's perfect. Thank you. I think I had a second part to that question, but I think you kind of jumped into it already. So I feel like you covered it. And then maybe, Emiliano, if I could ask you to just share a little bit about your experience. This kind of goes hand in hand with what Diana was saying here. When we had you present your projects online, maybe could you share a little bit about that experience and what that was like for you?
Sure. Building the project is just the beginning. Building a portfolio is the beginning. Then promotion, self promotion is another big story. The bootcamp gives us the tool to do so. We had a whole section about career development and LinkedIn and working on a portfolio and everything, and that was a massive help for me, especially for LinkedIn and cover letter skills, which I was really lacking. And for me, I had the big advantage that I worked in web development, so putting up a website for my projects for me was really easy. But of course, during the the bootcamp, there's sections where students are explained the different options to do so. Starting with LinkedIn, which is just the very beginning. Building our own brands, building our own portfolio and our online presence, together with, this is something really important for developers, together with Git and GitHub skills, because no programmers would be ever trusted without showing a line of code. So that's something else that does a massive difference. So for me, for the project was all about uh, putting videos on YouTube, on Vimeos, uh, putting things together with a website, with a blog, which I always forget to take care of. I must admit, I should be really more active on my blog and LinkedIn. So the pitch day at the very end of the bootcamp is a big booster, because hiring partners are able to see what all the students have built during the bootcamp. So that's another big opportunity, another big tool. So I would say generally there's a lot of opportunities to do so and to present what students do during the bootcamp.
Awesome, awesome. And just while we're on that topic, Monday, maybe share how was your experience with the pitch day specific? How did you enjoy that process and kind of presenting your projects there?
Yeah, I mean, as you can probably tell, I'm super shy, so I was like super nervous the whole time. Um,
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I loved pitch day. I think again, since I was like in the boot camp while also working in the industry, the pitch day to me was very much what I'm used to when you're like pitching an idea to like execs or to producers. You know, you go in there, you have an idea. And the one thing I really like that the boot camp focused on was like more than just the idea, what is the reasoning behind it? So you build out like an MVP, like a minimum valuable product, and really what is this product, what are we trying to do. You have your vision statement, you build up like your whole project portfolio. So it, like Emiliana was saying, it gives the air that this is professional. Like, yes, you are in a boot camp, so this is like a place where you can stumble and fall and make mistakes, but it's still like you're going to do all the things that you would do in a professional format. um, so my team specifically, you know, we, like Emiliano's team, we built out like a VR game that we absolutely loved. I mean, we still work on it, and I know, you know, Molly's in the chat. She's one of the student ambassadors. Me and her play test it quite a bit, and it's been something that like we started as the midterm project in the boot camp. It became our capstone project. Now it's a personal project, and the pitch day to us really gave us the feedback that we needed from the industry to start aligning like what our game was as a project to what it would need to be like marketable. So, you know, it started off with something we were just like playing around with, like, oh, different assets and different interactions. And now we're like, okay, we want this to be a game and we want it to be competitive in like this VR first person shooter genre. So this is what the industry was saying, which was great. And, you know, we went in there and we said that we weren't looking for like sponsorship or like any type of funding. We really wanted like the mentorship, and we want us to give the direct feedback. And we got that, and we were able to make like some great LinkedIn connections that have provided continual support to like our project. And more than anything, they were excited to see what our project looked like. They were like, hey, like keep us up to date. If this does go to market, or if you start beta testing it, or if you run into any hiccups, like let us know. So I absolutely like, I loved pitch day. I think it was a great opportunity, and it definitely gives you an experience that you would only get if you were like inside of a boardroom at a meeting presenting something. Like, it gives you the comfort level to say like, this isn't that scenario. Like, you don't have to be like super nervous about it. It's still like everybody that you were just in this 30-week program with. Yes, there's industry experts, but like we're there to help and support you. And so then the next time when you present, if you are like on Shark Tank presenting like something, or you go to EA and you want to present something, like you already have your ducks in a row. You know what they're going to ask for. You know what they're going to look for. And it's all thanks to like this mock experience that you got through pitch day.
Awesome, awesome. And when I say honestly, the projects were incredibly impressive. Anybody who wants to see them, you know, these two on the screen right now, Emiliano's and Mondays, I remember very clearly they were both amazing projects from the bootcamp specific. So awesome, that's great, thank you. And then I had one last question here. guess, and it would be, it could kind of go for all three of you. It was, I guess for this presentation, it would be for the bootcamp, but in general, do our courses give a good reflection of the current state of the industry and kind of what you would need to be successful in Unity development and XR, you know, and all of the above. So feel free, any of you guys want to jump in and answer the last question there?
I definitely will.
Perfect.
So put simply, yes. I was super nervous when I got my role at Bungie that like everything that I knew about Unity wasn't going to apply, and I was like so happy to know that like it did. And so, you know, like I said, I was taking this boot camp while I was like starting my role with Bungie, and as I was learning things in the boot camp, I'd be like, oh, like I gotta learn this new skill in Unity, and I would turn around and be able to do that new skill at work. So, you know, the course that CircuitStream has been able to put together and really focusing on like this Unity overall development without making it too specialized in one area, and how you can apply it to a lot of different areas, you know, whether it's XR or, you know, if it's 2D development or 3D development, like the skills that you'll learn in the boot camp, you can apply easily. So, I mean, yeah, it's been super helpful, super up to date. I mean, even some of the concepts that we talked about in the boot camp, like I was able to pitch them and it was like, oh, that's something new we can explore. And that's a new way we can like talk about things. Um, and then again, you know, going back to pitch day, when you're talking with the industry experts and you're walking them through your project and your design process and your development process, those would be the people to say like, oh, this is like technology from 3 years ago or a method from 4 years ago. And even they were like impressed, like asking us like, how did you think through this? Or how did you apply that? Or we've never seen these techniques used together. How did you do that? So I think, you know, the bootcamp course and really all of CircuitStream courses are up to date. I know, Tyler, you know, like we have a ton of meetings to make sure that like our courses stay relevant and up to date. And it really shows in like what you'll learn, the takeaways that you'll get, and really the instructors stay up to date as well. So like the amount of help and assistance you'll be able to get isn't going to be based off of like Unity version 2019. Like they're going to be working with like the latest up to date things. They're going to make sure that they know all the changes that they're able to help and assist you, even down to like hardware setups. Like we have so many users that come in using like PC or Mac. It's like the age old question. I will just throw it out there. Like it's so much easier on a PC. Make the change, make it easier on yourself. But if you're a diehard Mac person, stick with it. But our instructors even help with that. Like if you want to develop for a Mac or a PC, we can definitely like help you figure that out and help your project. And if you want to upgrade your project, or, you know, I try to throw them a hairball every once in a while and be like, yeah, I downloaded this new SDK, and like Indica will faithfully be like, oh yeah, I've read about that. Let's see. And I'm just like, I can't stump you for anything. So it's just really, really great.
Ah, that's awesome. No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I, you know, like you said, I work here. I know that we're trying very hard to stay on top of everything, every new you know, advancement that happens in the industry. So it's nice to hear that feedback directly from people who've taken the course as well. So PC for life. That's hilarious. I'm also a PC user. I switched over from Mac a few years ago, but I do like both. So well, awesome. So what I will do is I will let all three of you hop off stage here for about 5 minutes. I'm just going to run through some of the start dates we have coming up and some of the pricing and some options for anybody who's looking at the courses. And then I'll invite you back up and we can take a look at the questions tab here on the side and see if we can go through any questions that the chat log has had for us throughout. So I'll let you guys jump off for now, and then I will invite you back in about 5 minutes here. Oops. Emiliano, you might have to come back in a minute there, but so perfect. So I'm just going to put this up on the main screen here again, and then I'll share. So oops. One thing I like to do when I jump back into the presentation here is just start with a quote from one of the students who took our bootcamp. The bootcamp provided me with a solid developer's foundation and confidence to build my XR startup. I can now better communicate with technical talent as well as do my own development if required. So just nice to hear quotes directly from our students that have taken the bootcamp as well. Now the bootcamp, the upcoming cohort that we have here would be February 28th. So we do have a date that's coming up fairly soon. And then we should have another one, I believe, a few months after that as well. The application deadline is February 20th. That's kind of like the latest. We do encourage students to sign up a little bit sooner. The benefit to signing up sooner is you do get access to course information a bit sooner. And we also have a 4-week C# coding course that's included in the bootcamp. And if you do get registered soon enough, you'll have time to complete that course before you jump into the Unity Game Development Bootcamp, which is beneficial, absolutely. The pricing you can see on the page here as well. We do have some pricing options for students. So the application process, I'll start here. It's comprised of 2 steps. You would submit an online application through our website. And then the second step would be program acceptance. Your application will be reviewed by the admissions department. Once reviewed, we'll follow up officially to confirm your seat. And if there's any questions about the course or the material, of course, that's when we go through that with you, just to make sure everything is aligned. In terms of payment for the courses, after completion of the admissions process, you'd be asked to secure your seat by making a $1,000 non-refundable deposit to complete the enrollment. There's a few finance options for you. So you can pay upfront for the course. Obviously, that would be an option for any course at any company. For Canadian residents, we do have payment plans as low as $600 a month. You can see there's 3, 6, 12, and 24-month payment plans offered. And then for our international students, the financing would come through us directly. So we can't go quite as low on that, but we would have them as low as $4,665 a month for international. And then we would have for US residents, we partner with Climb. So there's several different options there when you go through, but you would just go through and submit the application. Once you get approved, you can go down as low as I believe is $200 or $210 a month there. So almost said $2 a month. And then our lovely admissions team, this is actually where I started when I was working with Circuit Stream when I first got here. I worked in the admissions role for about 7 or 8 months, and then I kind of shifted over into my role now. I work more with the university partners, but these are our lovely admissions team members that we have right now. And I think that is it. Yes, if you have any questions, you can reach out to admissions@circuitstream.com. You can connect with us through the website. We have a chat log in the bottom corner. If you have any live questions, we can respond to that. And of course, you can just reach out to anybody here via email or by phone anytime, and we're happy to help you. Download the syllabus or apply now. That's our website there, circuitstream.com/bootcamp. We can get right to the bootcamp information. And that's it. So we can jump into the Q&A now, and I'll shrink this screen down, and then I'll invite all 3 of you back up onto the stage here. And I'm just going to take a quick look at the side here and see what questions we have queued. This one's probably a good one for Monday to jump into right away, but is the XR course incorporated in the bootcamp? We were just talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So no, so the XR course is completely separate from the bootcamp. And again, the reason why it was referenced so much during this presentation was really mainly because me and Emiliano and even Diana all started our journey going through the XR pathway that CircuitStream offers. And then me and Emiliano did the bootcamp. But the bootcamp itself is just focused on 3D game development within Unity. But then that skill set can branch into so many different things. So if you want to take that skill set from the bootcamp and create, XR projects or XR design elements, you could. Just because it says 3D does not mean that you can't make it like 2D spaces. So it's just focused on like how to become a game developer within Unity as like an all-encompassing thing instead of only focusing on XR. That being said, if you are interested in XR, we do have, XR development, which will take you through like XR development. So you'll do VR development as well as AR development. We also offer a course called XR Design and Prototyping, which will teach you how to create XR experiences and design it using, like Shapes XR and also like Figma and kind of like the design elements of it. But this bootcamp specifically won't dive into those things. It'll give you more of a kind of like an overview of like everything game development related in terms of Unity, and then a step further in teaching you those advanced topics. And then as well, we have the career services tied into it as well, which is like the biggest difference from the other courses. So this one is 30 weeks. It has the career services tied in. So, Diana will be working with you guys on so many different aspects of like career services, personal branding, resumes, mock interviews. We have pitch day at the end, but it does not cover XR.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm gonna mark that one. It looks like a lot of the questions that we had here, our team has been all over and has answered quite a few of them as we've gone through. So if there's new questions, feel free to put them in. But what I might do is pull up some of the ones that we have answered and just make sure that we kind of let everybody in the audience know what the answer was in case they didn't see it. And I see a question here about pricing. The pricing on the presentation here would be in USD. And then let me go back to the actual questions here. So the bootcamp is more focused on coding and game development for people who would like to be game designer or UX designer. Will there be any design skills taught, such as Figma, Adobe, art building, like CAD, etc.? And the answer we have here is, I think topics like UX design, Figma, Adobe are not particularly discussed during the bootcamp, but I have seen designers who have taken that program as well. Does anybody want to speak to that? I think it was Diana who answered that one there.
Yeah, I think that also we have in the chat we have Molly, who came more a little bit from the design, although she also was diving into XR development, and I can see how like you could bring these skills. Even we see it in XR development that sometimes designers want to take XR development, and I can see where they are coming from. I think that is very important to be able to understand, and that's one of the reasons why I actually took both, to be able to understand the ecosystem. It depends on how you want to drive your career. It ultimately depends on that. Do you want to see yourself, first of all, just working in a company for a certain number of years? Maybe you're a college student and then you're not necessarily are trying to build a vision of in 20 years, and you think that that's maybe the best path for you. Or there are people that definitely, for example, decide to take the being designers, decide to take the boot camp because they are building a case of trying to get an actual app, complete app chip in the store. And for that they need to understand the overall structure of how could I have enough skills to build onto something, maybe a phase of the project, but how can I communicate effectively and understand the whole architecture of a project of this type of scope. So that's why sometimes designers as well decide to take the bootcamp. It depends on the way that you want to drive your career. It's totally possible that designers take the program. Actually, I think that if you already have skills in UX, Figma, etc., then there is no point to take again, those skills, but also complement it with something that is going to give you more tools to actually create a whole project and be able to polish it, for example. Just one idea. It depends on how you want to drive your career.
Oh, that's perfect. Because there's definitely overlap, but the bootcamp focuses a bit more on the development side. So it's nice to kind of see where the drive would be from the designer's standpoint on that side as well. And then another question here, for people who have completed the bootcamp, do you end up with Unity's official certification? How is that process? And do you have to build and publish another game for it? I think Monday might have answered that one. Do you want to speak to that one, Monday?
Yeah, for sure. So after the boot camp, so there is like a passing score with the boot camp, and that's based off of your quizzes and challenges that you submit throughout the boot camp, as well as your performance on the midterm and capstone project. But don't freak out too much about it. The student service team is always there to help people out. If you got a bad score, or if you need some additional points towards the end, we can definitely work with you. But once you do get that passing grade in the boot camp, you get issued the circuit stream certification for the boot camp itself. And then what we do is we work with you to help prepare you for the associate programmer Unity certification. So you don't graduate this boot camp with that Unity certification. That is something that you can take additionally if you want to. You do, if you successfully graduate, get the circuit stream certification. And like I was saying, we set up some sessions to help you with the associate programmer certification. And we also give you a practice test that you can take just to see what that exam is going to look like, and kind of get some insight. But to Tyler's point that he made at the very beginning, Unity is one of CircuitStream's partners. So what you'll find is as you're going through the boot camp, the way the boot camp is structured and the way we're teaching you all a lot of the different things coincides with the Unity questions and the Unity Associate and even like the higher up programming certifications. So it is very close to a 1-to-1. It's like a 95-to-1, if not even higher than that. But you won't graduate this one with just that Unity certification right off the back.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. And then another one I saw here that jumped out to me. Would skills learned in the bootcamp be applicable to Unity game development within the 2D indie space as well, or mostly just 3D? I think Dayon answered that one and said definitely applicable to the 2D space as well. And I can see you guys nodding there, so that's I think that one's good.
I would just call out as well. Sorry, Tyler, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
please.
So to just speak to that even more, we had one participant when I was in the boot camp by the name of Cody, who actually created like a 2D game as his capstone project, and like that was his pitch day project and everything, and it was like great, like it was super cool, and he was able to like gain those skills through the boot camp. So again, like everything you'll learn, it encompasses so much and it's so applicable in so many areas. Like even what Diana was saying, like you can use this skill set in the design world to do like Shapes XR and like other things like that. Because it is just like teaching you how to create using this engine.
Awesome. And then another one here. I think you answered this one as well, Monday. I was told the VR headset is necessary. If we're not focused on XR, is it actually necessary for this course?
Nope, not necessary. So yeah, so for XR Dev, if you decided to go that route, it is, even for that one, it's not necessary. It's recommended because that's the only way how you can truly test out what you're building in VR is if you have a VR headset. But since this boot camp doesn't go into that, you don't need that headset to really even be successful unless you decided to build out like a VR project as your like your midterm or your capstone. But none of the course material will ever say like, hey, plug in your headset or you need a headset for this specific portion.
Awesome. And then let's see here. Do we go through learning game physics or computer graphics in the boot camp? Emiliano or Monday, you can answer that one there, I guess.
Definitely, that's part of the syllabus. There's no 3D gaming without physics. You will learn how objects interact with one another, gravity and interactions. Having things bump into one another is the basics of pretty much any 3D game. I'm not really sure what the question asks about computer graphics. I'll pass on that.
Yeah, computer graphics wise, so we don't go too much into like the specifics of computer graphics, but I know like towards the very end when we talk about optimization, like computer graphics and memory are things that we consider when you want to like optimize a project or look into like, I don't know, issues with optimization or like laggy connections or anything like that. So we don't like dive into like, we're going to spend a whole section talking about like computer graphics and configurations. But as part of the optimization section, there is like talking points to consider computer graphics.
Awesome. And I'm just surveying the questions along the side here to see. You guys were all over it. You've answered quite a few during the presentation. It was great. I'm curious if any of the speakers have any thoughts on the advancements in AI technologies and how that might impact game development and the industry going forward, specifically regarding certain skill sets becoming less valuable in the future as AI is becoming more capable. And I think Monday, you answered that one as well.
I will just preface by saying I think I just went crazy in the chat, so I apologize.
That's okay.
But if anybody wants to answer, I don't want to like monopolize this at all.
Maybe I can give a little point here.
Please, yeah. I'll put you up on screen here.
I've been using artificial intelligence as well for processes independently for method, because in the architectural process, we need to create concept designs. And in order to create the concept designs, typically the process happen through sort of creating something in 3D first, in order to be able to showcase a potential, maybe a scene of the environment. But now through the use of artificial intelligence, there is it's unbelievable the amount of time that this is gonna disrupt and help these industries, specifically in my kind of my niche, architecture, engineering, and construction, the typical AEC industry. So I can see that at some point, the way that this is going to be transformed is the merging of all of these, um, skills at some point that you're going to have, but as well fields which are extended reality, 3D, of course, Unity has to be there because it's where all this stuff happens, and artificial intelligence. So this is where it's gonna disrupt all the industries. And that's why this is the reason why we are here, is because we know that something like this is coming, and we want to be part of this shift earlier rather than when it's too late. So I think that there is an interesting thing that is gonna happen there. I invite everybody to keep an eye in all the advances that are happening with artificial intelligence, because this is gonna be merged with extended reality. We're not seeing it yet, but it is coming, it's for sure. So the way that this looks is actually like, you remember the Marvel movies, like Tony Stark speaking with Jarvis. This is how it's gonna happen in augmented reality, virtual reality, etc. Nice way to showcase it.
I
So
love
we
that.
understand.
I'm a Marvel guy myself, so I love that comparison specifically. Um, awesome. And then, so let's see, it looks like we have a couple technical questions here. Are office hours online or in person? So I can answer that one directly. The office hours would be online. All of the courses, everything is run live, but also online. So if you're scheduling those private sessions, you would just be scheduling live sessions, hour sessions with the instructors there, and it would be in an online format. Will we be sharing a recording of the presentation? Yeah, I think I mentioned that earlier on, but we'll definitely have a recording and we can send it out to all of the participants here today. And then let's see, this one, how high does my IQ need to be? I don't know if we have a specific number for what your IQ would need to be to take the courses, but does anybody want to weigh in on that one?
Anybody can take the program. It's a beginner friendly program. Actually, iterations to the program have been made over the time that the program has been live, in order to make sure that if I come from the design industry, for example, like the question that we had before, and I haven't been in touch with coding, I really need like the first like easing into programming, etc. This is something that is going to happen with this program, particularly this one. Changes are happening all the time to make sure that it is actually at the standard that typically people would come here without those skills. So you're coming actually here to get the skills. So it's beginner friendly.
Perfect. And then actually, Diana, while you're here, this question is probably good for you too. I think it's the last one that we have on the side here. How much time is spent on the career services?
Mm-hmm. We have a lab that happens certain Saturdays, not all the Saturdays. And the labs are divided into sections where we discuss what we need to do, and then hands-on, because that's why it's called lab, sort of like in the format of workshop, where we are working on the accounts, working on the project, working on the portfolio, etc., at the same time, in the way that you don't have to do work after the lab, like, which is pretty great, because we are super busy with jobs or with other commitments, and what we want is that you work in your career components during the lab, so you don't have to worry about any external things. It's done and it's done. So about that, so there is a schedule that we have for what Saturdays. It's not every Saturday, but it happens between 3 and 5 hours with breaks, like long breaks, in order to make sure that like we are concentrated and focused. The last part, or what we are going towards now, is that the last part is pretty much for you to continue developing your project, so it's pretty flexible. And yeah, I think that is pretty doable, because it's on Saturdays. It doesn't conflict with potential commitments with work, so so far it has worked very well in that way.
Awesome. And then, yeah, in terms of, I mean, we offer specific career support for the courses once you complete, but one component of Circuit Stream that's been, something I've heard from students from the get-go is one of their favorite parts about the company is the networking and the community that we have on our side. there's always going to be opportunity for support. I mean, if you have a question, I don't think you're going to not be able to get the question answered through us at the company, through our network on Discord. So yeah, I mean, we have specific career support that's geared towards the courses, but then in addition to that, we just have a massive network that's always available to our students, current students, past students as well. So and then I'm just looking in the, not so much the questions, just the chat log here. Do any of you stream your work on social media, on Twitch or anything? Feel free to plug yourselves right now. I guess this is a good time for that. If anybody does any streaming, Monday, do you do any streaming or anything? No?
I was gonna say I don't do streaming. I have a poorly kept up. I call it my Instagram for like my project. I'll throw that in the chat, but like, don't judge me because I'm not good with social media. But no, I don't do any streaming. Not right now.
No streaming, no problem. And then I'm just taking a look to see if there's anything else here. One comment said that currently it does feel to me that it's very beginner friendly, but I do worry that it might not be deep enough within certain areas or certain uses. So that's where I'd say, it's you're always going to have the opportunity to kind of specialize or hone in on certain areas once you've taken the course. Same with our development course versus our Unity developer course. Our XR course is 10 weeks. It's focused on XR. There's a bit of overlap there in the main one, but the bootcamp is focused on Unity development overall. Once you go through that, you may shift your focus to one area of Unity development that you really want to specialize in which, you could look for support through the networking. You could continue education on your own. You could continue working with us. But that's like, is that accurate, Monday, would you say? I can see you nodding there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the case. So the good thing is, since it is 30 weeks, you spend a lot more time on the different topics. So you do get to go quite a bit deeper than in the 10-week courses. So instead of just kind of like talking about prefabs, you're able to go into like prefabs and scriptable objects, and like you just like go down the rabbit hole. But if you're looking for a very like specialized thing, that's going to take something where you're going to either not find some different avenue or connect with like the instructors about a personal project in like office hours or like the circuit stream community. But I did think like, for the time that we had in the boot camp and the amount of content that they go through in the boot camp to really take you from like zero to game developer, we went like, we followed some trails down the rabbit hole pretty hard. Like you got like all the information you needed and then some, which was great, because I think as you develop as a game developer, we all start off with like different things. So like you might start off coding with like if statements and if else statements, and then you get into like while and for each, and then all these different things. And by the end of it, you're doing like state changes and different. And so, but you don't get that from like the 10-week courses. So exactly to your point, I think you get a great deal of advanced content if you were looking at like, hey, I want to be a game developer overall. But if you have a specialized interest in like, I want to create like applications to help with the hospital sector, like that's something where you have to explore for that specific area. But then you would still go back to like these really in-depth, rich skills that you gained from this boot camp.
Yeah, and I guess I could add to that as well. Like we do have one-on-one sessions included within the boot camp where you can kind of, maybe jump a little bit outside of the curriculum if you want to look at some other areas. But then in addition to that, once you've completed any of our courses, our instructor team's amazing here. If you're looking at gaining some additional knowledge outside of the course curriculum, we do also offer one-on-one packages that you're able to kind of do separate from the courses. If so if you're wanting to specialize in a specific area, of course, we'd want to make sure that the instructors were skilled in that specific set that you're looking at. But if that's the case, we could absolutely look at one-on-one options for training too. So, so hopefully that helps that one there a little bit. It looks like somebody followed you already on your Instagram there. So I think that's it. So I'm going to take one last quick look at the questions poll. Oh, there is another question. Is the 30-hour C# course incorporated? So C# is incorporated into the actual curriculum of the bootcamp. If you sign up soon enough, or if you give yourself enough time, you would be able to do the 4-week additional C# course before you jump into the bootcamp itself. So that would be that one. So yeah, so I think that's it. I think we hit the timing right on. It's 2:29 right now. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you to all of you for joining us here today. Monday, Diana, Emiliano. It's been amazing having you here and kind of hearing your insights into our courses and kind of the industry and how your experience is going. So thank you so much for joining us. Feel free, everyone, to look up their names and find them on any social media or anything that they have there. Reach out to us if you have any questions. And I'll end there and say thank you so much for joining the workshop here with us today.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, happy Thursday, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. And we will see you back for another workshop here in probably a week or two. Cheers.